104.5 Triple M the Weekenders for Seats Are Us. Margot Parker and Dobbo with you. And Trent Quinn from I Think Property joins us this morning. Hello, Treadles.
Mate, another Saturday morning, another heartbreaking close loss for the Reds.
Well,
it's normal.
It's very, very close. I mean, if you're a Red supporter out there this morning, you're going to be disappointed because you got the loss. And I know we keep on saying this, but they are so close. And it's just an experience, and you just feel that in a couple of years it's going to be all right,
A couple of years.
Well, yeah, if there's anyone left on... It's character building. That's what I tell my son. It's character building.
Very patient fans.
Exactly. But we move on. We break for a couple of weeks and we watch the Lions tour New Zealand. So we'll be back.
Hey, listen, mate, the real estate chat has been such a hit that Margot has decided that she is going to drive it now. Away you go.
Well, I always ask the questions, Trent, and Dobbo sits there on his phone, so I figured that I may as well take the credit and the forward for it. So
insightful as they always are, Margot. So where are we going this week?
I want to talk about acreage because I live on acreage and I spent a lot of this week just being at home and enjoying the peace and the land. And my boys, when we bought our property, the guy threw a couple of quad bikes in. So the boys love those. So we spent a lot of time doing that. And my daughter's doing horse riding. And, of course, that then means at some point I'm going to have to get her a horse. But the transition between inner city living, because we lived in Camp Hill on a 405 block, for 10 years and transitioned a little bit further out down the highway. We're about 30 minutes down the highway, which is not far to get land these days. Do you find that people are making that transition?
Certainly, and for all the reasons that you've just outlined there, Margot, and how I refer to it is it's sort of economy of scale. So earlier this year, I did the equation for some friends of mine over on the eastern side of the city, and at the time, if you looked in and around that Carindale area, you were paying anywhere between $700 and $800 for just a run-of-the-mill suburban block with a run-of-the-mill suburban house.
Queenslander.
Okay? Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So that's where it sort of sat. And then, but if you went 5 minutes down the road and you're looking at that sort of Belmont, Gumdale, Chandler area, there were the opportunities there of, you could get 2.5 acres, anywhere for 1.2, maybe 1.5. Mm-hmm. Now, I know that's a big gap financially, but if you've got the capacity to do it for all the lifestyle reasons that you just spoke about,
yep.
It's a wonderful opportunity. And when you look at it, and I just use Chandler as an example because that's where I looked at for the friends of mine, but, 15 minutes. Now, obviously, peak hour, take that out of the mix, but you're on the gateway, you can be at the airport, the coast, the sunny coast, wherever you want to go. So that lifestyle opportunity, it's hard to quantify and put a number on that. And if you can afford to do it, it is a big plus for a lot of people.
What about rates, though, mate? Do the rates, because you're on a bigger parcel of land, do they go up?
Not necessarily.
Well, not necessarily, correct. And it depends which local government umbrella you fall under. But for a lot of people, if it's an acreage property, well, then you're on the biocycle systems or the old septic systems or whatever. So your infrastructure costs are lower because you're not having to pay for sewerage, this, that and the other, depending on what your bin collection is and all the other different bits and pieces that go into the rateable value. That doesn't always equate, Dobbo.
Well, just in comparison, like our rates in Camp Hill were, $600 and something a quarter plus water, and it's the same. And we're on 2 acres compared to 405 block. Price-wise, we paid the same amount or relatively around the same amount for a 3-story house in Camp Hill on a 405 block with no yard, a smallish pool. And now we looked at that sort of Gumdale, Chandler area that you mentioned.
Yep.
It was a little bit out of our price range because it was a little bit more exy. And if we just went that 15 minutes further down the road to Cornubia, which is where we are, we managed to get something the same sort of price as we were in Camp Hill, less than Gumdale, but on 2 acres.
Yeah, correct. And using examples on the other side of town, Margot, as well, out our way. You can look at the people in that sort of Paddington, Red Hill, Ashgrove area, where if apples for apples on the other side of town, if you look a little further out, Pullenvale, Anstead, Brookfield, Moggle, you can start to get into those areas as well.
Yeah.
And the example that you just gave of Cornubia, if you want to come a further 5 minutes out the road, well, then you can bring in, Mount Crosby, Colo, the options are endless, but it just comes down to, I suppose, the lifestyle element that you're chasing.
Yeah.
You know, for an extra 5 minutes in the car, then is it worth it? And that's only something that the individual can answer.
And we're pretty lucky. Like, we don't have the traffic that, you know, Sydney and Melbourne, et cetera, do. You know, I know we complain about it in Brisbane, but, you know, you might get held up an extra 15 minutes, you know, peak hour time. But our road system's pretty good, and we're really close to the gateway. We're close to the highway. You know, we're 5 minutes to the Logan motorway. Brisbane's half an hour. Gold Coast is half an hour. You know, I think if you can find in those pockets and get that space, it's really, really such a great advantage.
And the other thing too, talking to people that have made that, I suppose, tree change, as we call it as agents, yeah, it's an extra 5-10 minutes to get home, but you're on the drive home, and if you're sitting in traffic or whatever,
anyway,
you make those final phone calls that you've got to make for the day, and you walk in the door and you leave work behind.
Yeah.
And you can sit on the veranda, you can have a glass of wine, a beer, the chooks over there, the kids riding quad bikes, motorbikes, whatever the case may be. But yeah, it's a thing that a lot of people weigh up, making that tree change.
Hey, good on you, Trent Quinn. We appreciate your time as usual. Anything you need.
Drama. And Margot, just before I go, if you do want to buy your daughter a horse, Donno's got lots of slow ones.
That is true.
I'll be sure to hit him
Except for
up.
the one, be very kind, except I have got a couple of that are going all right.
You had one race last weekend. How did it go? You didn't even know it was racing.
Yes, I did.
Happy medium. On the
Are you
Gold
one of
Coast.
those? I've got a 20th
Michael
share.
Gree from Grandview Thoroughbred, he does a very good job. I own an ear of a horse,
He owns
an
an
ear,
ear.
and that's about it. Not even an ear, a quarter of an ear. But anyway, he's going all right, happy medium. Hey, thank you, Trent Quinn. We'll talk again.
Have a good day, guys.
There we have it.
See ya.
Now the real estate game, 133353. If you want to guess, now what suburb are we working with? I don't want but what suburb are we working in today?
Brookfield.
Brookfield, 133353, the real estate game. Give us a call right now. And if you know the right price in this house that Margot has got, you're a big chance of winning our prize. This is the Weekenders, 104.5 Triple M.